We all want our students to participate in class. Encouraging students to participate and talk with each other in an online class can be more challenging than trying to get students to participate with each other in a face-to-face class. But there are a couple of tips that I have for you in order to make your class more engaging and to encourage student-to-student interaction in your online class. First, use what you have in front of you. Spice up your discussion boards. You can incorporate the arts into your discussion board. Rather than simply asking students a question and having students respond via narrative text, you can spice things up by using any different creative outlet to encourage students to think maybe outside their comfort zone. One of the things that I tried this semester was using Wordle. If you go to wordle.com, you can enter or copy and paste any number of different narrative or text words. In this example, I had my students write a poem about where they came from at the beginning of the semester. So they were incorporating poetry into their discussions of power and privilege in my diversity class. Then later in the semester, as part of their discussion board assignment, I had them copy and paste their poetry into a Wordle on Wordle.com, and it generated this visual depiction of their description of themselves. And I think you can see just from glancing at this that this shows that this tells a different story and one that couldn't be told just with text on a page. Students are able in Wordle to be able to change the font, change the colors, and then I actually had them talk about what their Wordle meant to them and how it told a different story than just the narrative words on a page. Another way of spicing up the discussion board is by doing something like encourage students to take photos of their lives. In this example, I asked students to take pictures of the privileges that they had, that they recognized in their lives. So I had one student, as you'll see, submit a picture of their textbooks because they saw the education they were receiving as an unearned privilege and something that they were very grateful for in their life, and recognizing that and talking about that in the discussion board while having this visual image really helps students to connect to one another and really bounce ideas off of each other. You'll see this is another graphic that a student posted when asked what her privileges were. And so you're getting some insight into who students really are and kind of what pushes them to learn about the concepts in the class and to really engage and interact with others, but be creating much more of a human environment rather than something that's sterile in the online world. Make your discussion board activities fun. Here's one example in another class that I teach about group development. I ask my students to pretend to take on roles of different group members. In the textbook reading for this particular session, you're learning about all different kinds of group roles that group members in a group setting may have. And so, as part of the discussion board, I had students actually embrace those roles. So you can see as this example, one of my students said, "It's just so hard knowing my boyfriend has cheated on me with my best friend, you see. It hurts me so much to know I've been hurt by someone I thought who loved me so much. I feel horrible, you guys." And then you can see her peer is responding, "I also think that is horrible. I would have to say this is the role of self-confessor." So you have students playing off of each other, guessing the roles that they're playing within the group discussion. So not only are they learning about group roles, but they're learning about each other too. Here's another example. So Maggie, Eric, and Sonia want to keep the dog, but they are not putting their part of keeping up with him. Maggie doesn't want to clean up after the dog, Eric ignores the dog, and Sonia doesn't feed him. Now let's also ask Mom what she has to say so we can all come up with a solution that would allow everyone to be happy. And then you can see her peer is responding. I think you're the compromiser since you're trying to find a solution that will make everyone happy. So just a fun way of kind of shaking up the discussion a bit, trying different things, can really encourage student-to-student interaction. You might consider inviting debate and critical thinking skills into your discussion. Here's an example of one discussion board prompt. When new babies are born, our society puts a lot of emphasis on gender. Babies are showered with pink or blue clothing, toys, and gifts before they're even born. How do you feel about gender roles so early in life? How do you think this behavior affects young boys and young girls as they grow? Are there steps that you might take to avoid gender stereotyping or gender role conformity in your own children or in children you know personally? So you're getting students to really open up, to bring in their own experiences and to figure out how those experiences relate to what they're learning in the classroom. Encourage community interaction. Here's another example of using photography in the discussion board. I asked my students to take a photo of an older person. We were learning about aging in American society. And so many of them took pictures of their grandparents, their neighbors. They attached these photos to their posts and actually interviewed the people that they took photos of to talk about what it meant to them to be an older person in America today. This leads to a much more fruitful discussion than having students regurgitate information from the textbook because it asks them to really reach outside themselves and really engage in the community in a different way, and perhaps a way that they're not asked to do in other classes. Finally, I wanted to share with you some resources about making your class more human. I have here a link to an infographic that I found really helpful. It says how to humanize your online class, and it provides a pretty brief description of what is humanizing. So it's basically the idea that we want our students to consider themselves to be part of this larger community of online learning and scholars. It requires facilitation through presence, empathy, and awareness. So getting to know your students in an online environment maybe takes a little bit of extra work. And you have to be a little bit more proactive than you might be in a face-to-face classroom. In terms of course design, there were 6 C's that relate to course design: choice, challenge, control, collaboration, constructing meaning, and consequences. If you'd like to check out this infographic on your own, I have the link in the presentation. And the infographic itself actually has a lot of links to other resources and tools that you may find helpful in terms of accessing that additional information. I also wanted to conclude with a short video clip about some students that were queried about what makes an online community really succeed.
What was done in the class to help foster community? Can you think of any specific examples? Is there anything that kind of sticks out to you beyond what you've already shared?
Well, I think one of the things that was definitely collaborative in our class was the fact that we were encouraged or assigned specific times where we were the presenter. and not only just focusing on each other's comments and things like that, but being responsible for bringing work to the table that might not otherwise have been there if we weren't involved personally, right? It was a real intimate experience where we were responsible for a portion of the class. And if you're not taking that seriously, you have that anonymity and nobody knows whether you maybe did your work or you didn't, then you might not put as much effort into it, and you definitely wouldn't have been, I definitely wouldn't have felt as connected to the class and to the individuals within the class and to you as an instructor without that experience.
You know, another thing that I know when you had talked about, you know, how we became a community in this class, that very first assignment, our favorite photo, you had everyone upload a photo that was favorite to them, and explain, you know, what it was and share it, and that really started that community environment with this class, kind of listening to everyone's stories, seeing their photographs of their family, seeing Cindy's cute little boy with the drinking fountain that I'll never forget. I love that little kid now that he's 17. But, you know, pictures with grandparents and pictures with, you know, younger kids and the grandparents aren't here anymore, and how special that photo and what it means to them. That really was a wonderful start to our class. And then you followed it up with, you know, what is, you know, photographs that change the world, and having us comment on those, you know, tear-jerking photos that we, you know, basically all of us were probably just crying, you know, talking about, you know, how those affected us, and you know, that was just a really great start to the class to get us really engaged.
So this is really the last module in this series of online teaching and learning sessions. And I just wanted to thank you for being interested in this topic. I would love to talk about ideas and questions and comments and things that you've done in your teaching that have had good results. This is a topic that I'm passionate about, and I would love to hear what you're passionate about in terms of online learning and education. My email address is on the screen. It's dianemitschke@uta.edu, and I hope that we can continue this discussion.